Thank you very much, Chairman. Good morning, good afternoon, and
Good afternoon.
I had the opportunity to meet with you yesterday and go over a lot of things, so it's not so much questioning as I just want to point out again, but publicly, my concerns about this process. And I welcome your input because you kind of know what my concerns are. So I understand there are sections of the city where the taxes are not going up, sections of the city where the taxes are going down. That's not my concern. My concern is that there are sections of the city where we expect the taxes to go up. They're building $1.2 million condominiums. They're building new homes for $800,000. They're highly desirable center city locations. Those type of things, understood. The question is, when properties that we do not expect to receive these high increases are receiving high increases, and continually so over the last 5 years. And so I'd like to focus a little bit on the Baltimore Avenue area around 48th, 49th. You and I are both very familiar with it. Sure. And my concern is this, that a home that has been on the market at like $80,000 for 20 years, that has had no improvements, is now being assessed at $450,000, $500,000 because of sale price. But what I don't see in that is a person who's lived there, who may be retired or have a working class job. They live there, they pay their taxes, they take care of the home. Somebody else who comes in who received the benefits that University of Penn offers for living in that geographic area. Penn Alexander School, they don't pay tuition if their kids go to University of Penn. They have different loan programs and other things. Is an incentive, along with the 10-year tax abatement, for them to go and pay a much higher price for the location, put in a large investment to improve that house better than anybody else's house, and that total cost raises, in some way possibly, raises, if enough people continue to do this, the assessment on everybody else's house. And some of the people who are purchasing the homes can also be a member at an exclusive, or at least a pretty I'd say expensive private club in the area. This is not an amenity available to the current residents. And so assessing the home based on the sale price of new people coming in who have benefits that are not available to everyone in the neighborhood, to me, is not an accurate way of assessing the actual value of the residents. And I can also look at development close to really desirable locations, and the fact that the investment will then affect neighboring blocks. We're hearing that there needs to be 28 or so more staff members, and I've heard that for a while, that you're not fully staffed. At the same time, I understand that the software for this, the Tyler software program, really is going to be in play for 2021. My question is, rather than raising the assessments and the taxes and then doing certain types of programs to address long-term residents, why not just put a moratorium on this process until the software system, which I think is quite sophisticated, can be employed into this assessment process?
So I'll try to address some of your last questions first. The software that we're looking to have implemented sometime within the next couple of years that will be in use for some parts of the 2021 assessment is going to bring many benefits to the city of Philadelphia. And you mentioned automation, but that's just one, okay? Better data integrity, better evaluation processes in general, quicker response between decisions that happen on our side or on the appeals board side between the time the decisions are made and the time a taxpayer gets a new tax bill. What we're looking for, probably more than anything, is to not have to use multiple databases, okay? And it's going to increase the efficiency of what we do. In fact, it's going to make many of the processes that we use right now redundant or unnecessary altogether. But it doesn't mean, however, that we need and continue to do reassessments every year. And in fact, I'll just kind of go back to some of Council President Clark's first questions about the increase of 11% overall, speaking to the idea that the more frequently, which is what we've been saying, the more frequently we do these, if we do them annually, we don't expect the change. And I'll say change because we don't know how it's going to come out. The market could take a downturn. Typically, real estate markets go up over time, but the change will not be as drastic because we're keeping tabs on it. So the anxiety that's produced in taxpayers, I think we probably agree on that, and that is the drastic changes that take place. And particularly, and you mentioned some neighborhoods where there's more drastic changes than others. So just to kind of speak to that, and you mentioned some areas where they expect to see increases and some areas where they don't. I can only say that, I mean, we do understand that there's a difference between what we define as value, meaning something that is a good thing. The more it increases, I can sell my house for more because it's worth more. I can borrow more money on it because it's worth more, but that doesn't help me if I just want to live there and not have to pay higher taxes. We understand that. You know, the assessor, we're responsible for trying to make sure that the assessment is tied as close as possible to the market, and that's what we're tasked with doing right now. And I think we've been doing it better. We're not perfect. And with 580,000 parcels, we will never be exactly perfect. We'll have some properties that will get wrong, and we'll correct them as we see. But overall, the assessments in general, I think, are getting better every year.
Okay, I'm going to conclude, but my I guess my overall kind of opinion is at this point in time, and I appreciate your explaining and talking to me, and we go through that, but I understand that if someone's house can be sold for $300,000 more than what they bought it for, that they have a benefit, although they don't want to move. But when their taxes shoot up like that and they can't sell their house and nobody's going to buy their house, but their house property has been increased because of neighboring properties, as I said, some people have certain benefits that, because of where they're employed, that don't apply to the rest of the folks in the neighborhood. I don't see that as an accurate process. And, you know, I have spoken to some people in the administration. My second point is, what is the policy? What if, in fact, the properties are assessed at a higher rate, but the people cannot afford to pay that rate, and they have to do reverse mortgages, or they have to plan on leaving the community, and they can't find a home to purchase based on the fact that they've inherited the home that they live in? The policy issue then would be that you're pushing out residents, Philadelphians, from their neighborhoods where they live with their families and they have all their connections to being dispersed. I'm not clear on, is that a policy? Is there no policy? It's just an assessment that doesn't come into play. And I see Rob DeBoe came up, and
Yeah.
I know my bell just rang, but I'll ask the chairman, would it be okay if Rob DeBoe answered that question?
And I understand what you're asking in the statement, because it is a policy issue.
And then it goes back to the questions that Councilman Johnson was asking, and we told him we would put together a document that summarizes all the things we're doing to help homeowners: tax relief programs, housing counseling, the homestead exemption. So we'll put that together and we'll share that with council.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I just ask that you share it with the chair for distribution.
Yes.
And that you come back, because I can look at it in the privacy of my office, but I would like to have it a public process so people understand what we're looking at and talking about.
Yep. And later in the process, we have a hearing on revenue measures, so I assume that we'll be talking about it that day.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
You got it. Thank you, Councilman. Chair recognizes Councilman Dom.